this has been a habit building week that I think is really going to set me up for success. This book had me giggling. It also had me kicking my feet. It had me yelling. It had me like, oh crap, what's happening now? It had me shocked. It had me shook. I think I got the ick. This book is actually really working for me, and I am so surprised. Let's go to the Peach Festival. Part of me wonders if this is going to be a 3-star read, and should I even spend the time continuing to read it? Hello friends, and welcome to TBR Takedown episode 4. Now this last week I went through and audited my TBR and found out that I have exactly 176 books on my TBR. Kind of a lot. So obviously my goal for my TBR is to read down that number. However, there also is a second strategy, being wherever possible, if I am able to access a book before I actually purchase it physically and add it to the dusty shelves, that means that 176 won't actually go up. So with that in mind, there are actually quite a few books that I have been I need to buy them. I want to buy them. But something that I really want to focus on, especially when the books are available on something like Kindle Unlimited, I do want to make sure that I'm using that as a resource before I spend money on the book for a book that I may not even like. So this week we have 3 books in particular that I am just itching to buy for a couple reasons, and I'll tell you which editions, what things I'm looking at, what's going on. But I want to make sure that I read them before we add them to the TBR. Also, my birthday's coming up, and I am someone who, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to get a book or 2. I know that the book or 2 that I'm going to get is probably going to be these 3. So I need to be smart, read these books, and actually make sure that I like them before I just knee-jerk buy them. So those books in particular, number 1, we have The Lies of Lena. I have heard so much about this book, but more importantly, the Ink Pages is actually doing a special edition, and the special edition for this book, the pre-order ends. We got about 8 days until that time is up, so I definitely want to read this book and make sure that I want it before I order this edition, because this edition is stunning. I'm not really a fan of the OG cover, so if I really like this book, I might just treat myself to a special edition. The second book that we have is none other than On Wings of Blood by Briar Bolin. I have been trying to read this book for so long, and I keep running out of time. It was a book club pick at one point. I didn't get to it. I had it on my KU, and it's been just sitting on my KU, and I've actually opened the page, and I just didn't come back to it. This book and we have been around the block, okay? So this week we are finally putting our feet down. We are getting to this book. But the most important reason that I want to get to this book is because these are going out of print indie, because they are being trad put. I am a sucker for an indie edition, okay? I need to make sure that if I do want to own these books physically, if I wanted to own the indie editions, I need to get those ordered now. But I don't want to just order it because it's going out of print. I want to order it and make sure that it's something that I actually want to own before I do in fact order it. So we are going to be reading this book. And then number 3, we actually have kind of a newer release. I feel like I have the warm fuzzies towards it. And that is Spark the Flames by Ivy Asher. I'm starting to hear really good things about it. And I am someone who, as we had previously talked about, when books get super popular, I tend to not necessarily love them as much. I have a feeling that this book is either going to get super popular or I'm going to start hearing people talk about it, and I don't want either of that. So I would really like to jump on the hype for this book now before it happens. But also, this cover is just really pretty, okay? I love a dragon moment. I love an urban fantasy moment. And you put those 2 things together and you got me. And then you put a cover that's like very like kind of Art Deco looking. I literally love it. So this is a book that is so hard. Like, I had this in my Amazon cart. I saved it for later. I had it again, and then it's been like, it's made it through like 4 rounds of me staring at it, really trying to order it. So yet again, we're going to put our foot down. We are going to read this book before I order it. And hopefully by that way, I'll still get to read some really fun, interesting things, but we're going to be smart about the order in which we read this, because if all of these books are currently actively available on Kindle Unlimited, which is a subscription that I already have access to, which basically means all these books right now are free $99. Why am I going to spend 20 plus bucks? Or in the case of Lies of Lena, a $37 book plus shipping. So while these books are not currently on my physical TBR, they're like this close from being on my TBR and then gaining dust. So we are going to be proactive this week. We are going to read the books that are on my Kindle TBR, so that way they can stay my Kindle TBR before they come my physical TBR. So without further ado, let's read some Kindle Unlimited books this week. Okay friends, so I have an incredible update, being that I am 20% of the way through the Spark the Flames, and I can't, I know it's really early, but I can't see myself not giving this 5 stars. At the moment, I am so gagged by this book. I think this is officially my sign that I'm finally over the Mother of Death and Dawn hangover that happened. And I think this book is also the absolute perfect book to be reading right now. The beginning of this book starts off very fast paced, very like, Oh, girl on a mission. Okay, we've got some tension. We meet our female main character Ever when she is essentially on the run, and then she ends up due to, you know, some running, ends up dropped into the arms of the enemy. And so we just met the enemy. I really like this style of plot development because we're getting teeny little nuggets of information as we go, and then every time we get a new little nugget, it feels just like an absolute revelation, and we're like, whoa. So my interest is so peaked right now, it is not even funny, and I feel like I don't even know like what the plan of this book is. However, what I do know so far about this world in general, even if I don't end up giving this book 5 stars, which is like I'm literally a fifth of the way in, the world here is so freaking cool. The setting of this world is so interesting. It is basically like, it has been described to me as urban fantasy with dragons, but really it's more like sci-fi urban fantasy with dragon shifters. Like, they're all dragon shifters, and then we're in a very urban world. It's very futuristic. We've got like magic tech, they're like match tech, I don't know, robots that are running around doing things in this world. It's a very like technology centered. We've all got like communication, basically just like very extra Apple Watches that have been well developed over, you know, the last several years. I think they're like lyro cars, and then like air buses, is that what they're called? We've got all kinds of like flying vehicles, and the beginning, which we've kind of gotten to know because the beginning of this book is very, she's running, things are moving, we're moving and grooving. So we have gotten a smidgeronia plot here, and that there's essentially different types of dragons, and each of the dragons kind of, I don't really know if they end up forming like some sort of a political structure. There's definitely some political structure related to the types. We've gotten like the tiniest little babyest nuggets so far of information. But what we do know is there's definitely some things brewing on with the politics between all the people in the club. We meet Ever when she is fresh off of being kidnapped and tortured by a certain entity that we don't still really know the full details of, but what we know is she has just been able to escape. We don't really know how she escaped. We don't know what's happening, but we know that she's on the run. There's so much banter in this book. There was a joke about somebody being a spicy lizard, and I am dead. I am gagged at the moment. Then we have also met our main male character, who I'm assuming is going to be the love interest. He is on his knees, and he doesn't even know. Like, he doesn't even know why. It's good. It's good. I have a really good feeling. A trope that I really love is when you kick a dog while the dog is still in fact down, and the dog happens to be the female main character, and then things happen after that. And we're getting it so good right now. I can't stop giggling, hee-heeing, and ha-haing. And it's not even like a silly, goofy hee-hee ha-ha, but it's like a snarky, sarcastic fan row hee-hee ha-ha. And I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. I love it, Wumpy. I love when you kick a dog while it's down. I mean, not the literal dogs. You know what I mean. To be clear, no animal abuse tolerated here. He agrees. I was just giggling. I fear there are tears in my eyes. What I really thought just happened was not what just happened. And it's so much juicier. I gave Spark the Flames 5 stars. So I bought it. For context with how this week has gone, it is currently Friday. I finished this book in quite literally an evening. Monday. And then Tuesday. Monday. And then on Tuesday, I watched a lot of Love Island. And then I decided to go ahead and start a book that I definitely did not plan on reading this week, which is Goldsin. I've not gotten too far we'll talk about this here in a second. But I've not gotten too far into Goldsin. I have managed to get 10% in the way, and it's very much so female rage. Girl is on the revenge hunt, but it's also friends to enemies to lovers. We don't know why they're enemies, but we know that at one point they were besties, and now he has the hots for her. He is all set for her. However, she just so happened to have been in a 10-year relationship with his brother. Oopsies. So I'm very intrigued to see where this is gonna go. She's got a list. I'm curious to see like what she's getting revenge for, what the plot line is, what's going on. We start off the book with her unaliving somebody, so I'm very curious to see, is this gonna be just like she's going down a roster, or is I don't know. So I started this out of nowhere, so we'll see how this goes. However, let's talk about this for a second. Spark the Flames by Ivy Asher. This book makes me absolutely want to go read every other book by Ivy Asher because I had such a good time reading this book. This was a 5-star, just like purely based on vibes. This book was just silly, goofy, and everything that I needed it to be at this time. The combination of like a more sci-fi leaning urban world with dragon shifters that are also very like, I don't know, military, and they've got ranking. So we've got a commander who is hot, and then we have got a lot of found family elements along with all of his like fellow, they're technically called his wing. This book was very fast-paced and fun. However, the ending of this book, we have to talk about it in the most vague term possible. I was on the floor. I am so ready. It reminds me very much so of another book that I shall not name because obviously spoilers, but I need the next book. Like, I need air. And thankfully for me, normally she publishes a book like every, like, I don't know, she does like a 3 a year kind of a thing. So I'm really just hoping that I get the next book and the 3rd book with haste. Thank you so much. Thank you. This book had me giggling. It also had me kicking my feet. It had me yelling. It had me like, oh crap, what's happening now? It had me shocked. It had me shook. It had me in love. I was obsessed. Like I literally had so much fun with this book. So I am very glad that I decided to pick this book up this week. And I'm also really, really glad that I did not just out of the whim buy this book, because now I know that I own this book, and I know that I own it because I love it, not just because I haven't read it yet. So go team go. TBR Takedown episode 4. We're making some progress. So it's currently Friday. I'm going to go finish Goldsin. I have officially finished season 6 of Love Island USA, and I cried like a little baby. So now that we have one 5-star, I absolutely want to go read. She has like a more werewolf book that I want to go read after this, so we'll circle back to that later. However, we've got Goldsin. I'm gonna go make some progress on that, and then I will check back in with you when it is officially the weekend and I'm ready. Good morning, friends, and happy Saturday. I managed to stay up far too late last night, and by far too late I mean like probably like 3 o'clock or so. I read from like 10% to 87% before I managed to fall asleep in Goldsin, and I think I got the ick. Okay, listen, there's actually a moment when she talks about how on like a couple days before her very first day of high school, her dad gave her a hair straightener because she'd been begging for it, and she straightened her hair and she was like, wow, this is my battle armor. I feel like I got my straight, sleek hair. I feel like that I'm a whole different person. I feel like I'm ready to take on the world. That I related actually so hard to. I don't remember if it was in like 6th grade or sometimes in junior high, but my aunt actually straightened my hair for the very first time, and I was like, oh, I am that girl. Like, I feel like I'm ready to take on the world. And I think that's a whole different other conversation. When you have curly hair in general, it feels very empowering to be like, here's my straight, like sleek hair. I feel like I'm in control. Things are like put together. I've never seen that in a book, and I thought that that was actually really cool to read about. However, this book, the plot, it's kind of similar-ish to the Mindfuck series in that she is getting revenge, and you find out why she's getting revenge very early on. So like the structure is very different from Mindfuck, but I kept thinking about Mindfuck and I was like, this isn't the Mindfuck series. And I just kept like, I started not liking it, and then we got certain little moments. There are very specific moments. Number 1, there is a caretaking scene in which he washes her hair, and he goes on and on and on about how he spent like 9 to 10 evenings watching curly hair routines, and then quite literally all he does, he puts in curling gel. And then he diffuses it. And I was like, is that it? Like, that's the whole routine? Like, what? And so then I just got very caught up on the specifics of that. And then there's a scene with the flat iron. And the whole time I just kept being like, but the back of the flat iron is hot. But the back of the flat iron is hot. What do you mean it's hot? And then all of a sudden it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And then it tried to make sense. And then it just didn't make sense. And I was like, what is happening here? So I got very caught up in some of the specific details, but then also like comparing this particular book to another book that I really like, and then I was just kind of like, do I even like this? And I don't know that I 2. I think the plot has so much promise. These characters have a lot of promise. And I do also wonder, because this is a friends to enemies to lovers, and I don't like friends to lovers. I have never liked friends to lovers no matter how hard I try. And I do think that that is also impacting me in my overall likement, if you will, of this book. And I do just wish we had leaned into the plot a little bit more as opposed to just the, I don't know, dark romance of it all. Like, this is the Mindfuck series, but like actually a dark romance, and I'm missing the plot, thrillery mystery elements. I think we could have gone a little bit more in details about, like, she's got a list, right? We don't know who's on the list, and I do kind of wish that we had more insight as to what the actual plan is here, as opposed to just like, hee hee ha ha, she's killing people, it's dark romance, yay. I'm definitely glad that I haven't bought this one yet. However, I do wonder, because I'm at 87%, there's still, 13% of this book to go. I do know that this book is going to be very, like, something at the end. So I'm curious if the little razzle dazzle at the end is going to take me out and make me really like this book. I'm not hating it at all. I'm just very much so caught up in the, ow, my hair's like caught on my earrings. Literally what is happening. It is Saturday morning. I obviously need to get ready and take care of all of this business. I also have a whole bunch of laundry that I need to fold, so it's the most perfect time to start an audiobook, and I think I'm going to listen to the audiobook for On Wings of Blood. I'm very excited. I need dragons. I need vampires, so wish me luck. I think I really wanted to like Goldsin, and then I got the ick, and then I couldn't let myself really like realized the fact that I was not having a good time with this book, and because I wanted to like it because it was so short, so easy to read, and also that is a storyline that like is similar to a book that I absolutely love. She's very beautiful to me. Also, I'm not really sure what this hair is at the moment. This is the throw this in the loosest bun situation possible because I needed it out of my face because it was so hot while I was running errands, and then I just never redid it. Anyways, here we are. Speaking of hair, in case you didn't know, I do have curly red hair. I do feel as if representation for redheads in the media is very interesting, and I did not think that this was going to be something that I was going to be addressing this week because I did not intentionally plan on picking up. I've now started Lena and On Wings of Blood, which we'll talk about here in a second. I didn't anticipate reading 4 books with redheads in a row. And out of these 4 books, there is just something about the way that Goldsin does it that just doesn't, I don't love it, and I hate that I don't love it because I know so many people are not gonna be bothered by it, and like, I like to like books, I do not like to dislike books, and I especially don't like to dislike indie books, and here we are. However, our female main character has curly red hair, and the male character is obsessed with the curly red hair, but she straightens it all the time because she likes it, and he decides to, there's a caretaking scene where he washes her hair, so he does his whole curly hair routine consisting of curling gel only, and suddenly she is perfect for him because her hair is who she should be, and he likes it so much because that is who she is. She's just a spicy, sassy little sassy girl, and so the next scene you find out she's just washed her hair and she's straightening her hair, and he is ticked because he doesn't like it when she styles her hair the way that she wants it. So not only do we have a token redhead in this book, there is no real reasoning for her to be a red curly-haired girly other than the fact that it is just because the main male character likes it, and it becomes a source of something that he tries to control about her, to control how she looks, even though that's the way that she likes to look kind of vibe. And I get that it's supposed to be he wants to empower her to feel like she can be herself, but it just like anyways, I just feel like if you're gonna have a character with a certain characteristic, a certain trait, whatever you want to call it, it needs to actually be relevant. Otherwise, it's just kind of there just because you wanted a token character with that particular characteristic. In the case of fantasy books, a lot of times it becomes relevant to the plot somehow. Either they're on the run and they like can't hide their hair, or oh no, they happen to have red hair like this lost bloodline, or oh no, like it becomes part of the plot somehow. And I feel like, especially in contemporary, it's hard to make that part of the plot other than just like, oh, she's different. I feel like, and a lot of times that particular hair color is used to fully explain why the character is so sassy and spicy, because obviously brunettes aren't spicy. We don't understand how blondes could possibly be sassy, and no combination in between. How else are we gonna know that she is bold and dramatic and a diva and feisty unless she has red hair? So sometimes it does in fact rub me the wrong way, and with Goldsin, unfortunately, that is rubbing me the wrong way, especially because our main male character, he likes her hair a certain way, that she doesn't, and then she puts her hair in the way that she likes it after he put it in the way that he liked it, and he kind of flipped off the handle. So the fact that he is trying to like control this element about her because he thinks it like such a character element, could she not have just been bald? Like, could she just have been anything else? Did it have to be that she is wild and free and she's got hair the color of like dancing flames or something? I don't know, but apparently that is what it is. So unfortunately that kind of that did me in a little bit. Now, that detail aside, I do feel as if the rest of the book was also lacking in some plot elements that I just needed more depth, because I felt like we were going for the shock horror of her like killing people on her list, and then we didn't really like go into it as much as I think that we probably should have for it to actually land. So I just feel like this book, it was very surface level on a lot of things. It focused so much on the romance, but the romance itself wasn't even like, I don't know. So anyways, I didn't like this book, and I'm so sorry because I really wanted to like it. I do think that I may consider picking up book 2, and that's just the toxicity in me saying that I need to know where the plot goes, even though I know I'm probably not gonna like it. So we'll see if I ever do pick up book 2. Now, all of those things aside, I think those are very specific to me, things that I just did not personally enjoy. So if you're still interested in this book, I do think you might have a better chance of liking it than I did. So anyways, that is Goldsin done and finished. And now back to some fan row. So I have not made much more progress in On Wings of Blood. However, I did go ahead and pick up The Lives of Lena. Now, I was very scared of this book. I am not somebody who generally likes childhood anything. I don't really like whenever we pass time. I really just like to be in the moment figuring out what's happening now. I don't love as much when we go back and do flashbacks. I was really unsure if this book was going to work for me at all. However, so far this book is actually really working for me, and I am so surprised. And I think it's because we're not doing flashbacks. We are doing a then, and then I assume a now timeline. I'm still in the then timeline. We've not made it to the now. I've also since read the synopsis to this book. I am not at the point where the prince comes into play yet. We have just met. What is his name? He's not Silas, because Silas is a prince. What is his name? Quill. We have just met Quill. So we are initially introduced to Lena, who lives on the outer circle. This city is basically a giant circle. You've got all of your elite at the castle, all the good people in the middle, and then slowly as you go out, there you find Riffraff. And Lena is in fact Riffraff because she is a mage, and mages are, think like witch. There's actually a moment where she's like, yeah, people call us witches as a slur because they are hunted. People are not fans. People do not like the mages. People don't like what they don't understand, and that happens to be magic. So they have been on the run for a while. They have finally found this city to live in. They have been here for the last 4 years or so, but she has magic and she refuses to use that magic because she doesn't want to get caught. She doesn't want to be a mage in the first place because she doesn't want to be on a run. She just wants to have a home. She just wants to be a girl. And unfortunately for her, that leads to a lot of rage. So she is a 16-year-old rage-filled girly pop who just she's not having a good time. So I meet her when she is doing some deliveries for her mom. So they're actually allowed to bring deliveries into the inner ring. So her mom, being an apothecary and bakery owner, makes things, so Lena then delivers it. There's a little bit of an incident, and now we have met Quill. I don't feel like the beginning of this book reads really YA. I don't feel like we have gotten so much into her character. We mostly have just gotten like a bunch of setup and like we're in this world, but I don't feel like she is like, it doesn't read like she's 16, but I also know that the decision-making elements that make characters feel younger, because obviously when you're younger, you do make different decisions than when you're older. We've not really gotten to any of that yet, so I am curious to see as we go, how is that gonna go? And I'm just curious. So we're having a good time, surprisingly. Hello, friends. I am currently getting ready for my little birthday dinner, and I figured I could update you on the Lives of Lena. I am certain that the initial structure of this book is not for me. I am curious though. I'm 84% of the way through. The point at which it finally switched from then to now occurred a lot further along the way than I thought that it might. However, whenever it finally hit, I was like, wait, this could be fun. And then, I feel like this book kind of suffers because of the writing. Like, once we finally got to a point where we were transitioning from the childhood till the adult side, the transition couldn't quite fully get there, I think, because the writing style wasn't intense enough. Like, it just wasn't batty enough. Like, there was a particular scene that should have just and it didn't quite, and I think mostly just because I was so taken out by the fact that we were doing that, but I wasn't taken out by that because it just wasn't written intensely enough. Like, it was just kind of hee hee haha, we're gonna do this thing, and that thing in and of itself is going to be the thing that we need to know that we're now adults. And the writing style didn't really change, their thought processes didn't really change, so I don't want to write this book off entirely because I do still feel like the plot is really interesting. I do think that had the then occurred for any more length of time than it did, I would have definitely been like, okay, come on. But I do think that now that I'm there, the plot that we're getting is interesting. Like, I'm intrigued. I don't know that this book is going to go in a place that I like specifically need it to, but I am intrigued. My overall feelings are 100% going to be based on the ending of this book. Like, the ending is either going to take me out and it's going to boost up the whole story, or or it is going to solidify that I don't like this book. Now, that being said, this book is very easy to read. I feel like it has been pretty fast paced so far. So like, even though I didn't necessarily just love it, it wasn't like I was having to slog through it. I just like was reading it and I just wasn't loving it. So I'm not necessarily loving the execution, and I'm definitely not loving the then portion just because that's not something that I as a human being tend to enjoy. However, I am very intrigued by the plot, especially now, like moving forward, what's going to happen. So the ending really truly could go either it's gonna really just take me out and I'm gonna love it and I'm gonna need more, or I'm gonna be like, okay, moving on. Like, the plot could be enough to make me just be absolutely down bad. However, I'm not down bad at this time, and in fact, I'm not into the writing style very much at all, to be honest. So that's kind of where we stand. I'm intrigued. We're on a precipice, and I'm curious which way we shall fall. Okay, so I have finished The Lies of Lena, and yeah, my thoughts actually did not change at all. I do just overall think that the writing style was not like the best. I have to give some credit where credit is due, being a debut fantasy romance. Like, there's just going to be some execution things that I can live and let live, and I'm fine with that. However, the first half of this book is just a structure of a style of book that I just don't necessarily enjoy, that trope. So then the last half of this, I definitely like the last half of this significantly more than I liked the first half of this. However, that doesn't like, that's not loving half the book is not going to make you love the book. Like, that's just kind of math. So overall, I do think that this is a book that I am glad that I have read. However, I'm really gonna show my toxic behavior here because I do really want to read book 2. I am still very intrigued with the world and where the plot is going. And now that we've kind of done the initial prep work, we can say, I want to know what's gonna happen. I do feel like this is the longest prequel ever. So I'm choosing to look at it as a very long prequel. And I did immediately download book 2. I might actually read it next. I'm unsure. However, what I am sure about is that I am not going to buy The Lies of Lena until I read book 2. Because if I like book 2, there's my answer. There's my problem. If I don't just love book 2, there's my other answer. However, that is a book down that I did read that I did not buy and add to my TBR before I actually knew if I liked it or not. So far, this week has been really good to be able to actually put my foot down and force myself to actually read the things that I want to read before buying them, which I know is a really good thing in theory to do. And obviously that sounds like something that you would do anyways. Low-key, it's kind of hard. So, which technically it's not even a week anymore. It's been much more than a week. So this vlog in general is very much so something that I needed to do in order to put myself into a very good set of habits here. So if anything, we can just call this week a habit building week. And I'm seeing nothing but benefits here. So we have come to our very last book. It has been a little bit of time since I have actually picked up on Wings of Blood, but I am someone who is very moody when it comes to my audiobooks. Sometimes all I want to do is listen to audiobooks, and other times I don't want the sensory experience even of headphones on my body anywhere. I just really don't want to listen to an audiobook. No, thank you. I'm kind of in that era a little bit, but I am starting to come out of it. So I'm going to go listen to the audiobook, and I will check back in with you whenever I have final thoughts and if I have bought it or not. So far, we're 1 for 3. 1 out of 3. I bought 1. We've read 3. So let us see. I make no apologies for the rhyming. Hello, friends. We have managed to make some errands happen. We managed to snag a little tea, and we have made it to approximately 6% of this audiobook. I feel like this audiobook is going to take me quite actually forever, though I have only been listening to it at 1.7 speed just because my brain has just been feeling a little bit like I kind of just want to just jam out to music and not actually listen to an audiobook at the moment. So the setup for this book is very interesting. We have our girly pop Medra, who has been dropped into this world that she has really no idea what the heck just happened to her. She doesn't know where she is. Come to find out, she just actually killed her grandfather, who was the god-like figure in her world. I'm not quite sure how she like portaled out of her world and ended up in this world, but she's been, you know, dropped into a world in which there are vampires, and she's like, oh hey, you guys are not like me. I guess I better like keep my mouth shut and attempt to stay as safe as I possibly can. And so she ends up getting basically kidnapped because they notice her and they're like, hey, she looks different. She looks like she is different. And I don't know what it is with me and finding redheaded curly female main characters this week, and here we are. So I've managed to find another one, and I don't think that I think that it's a little bit more closely tied to the plot because they are very much so seeing her as an other. Like, she's definitely not from this world, but she's like, I don't know, this is more common where I'm from. But they're like, you seem kind of weird. Also, you smell kind of weird. I think we should kill you. Actually, let's go ahead and keep you, and we're gonna bind you to the prince, just because he's the one that found you. But don't worry, you're only the second person in line for the prince. So she is now betrothed to said Prince Blake, who whenever she very first meets him, she's like, you know, he's really not my type, but like, okay. But he already has a fiance, and her fiance is already really mad at her female main character. And obviously the fiance that's already there is very mad at our female main character. So she is in a very hostile environment, we can say. The world that she is currently in, all of the dragons have been completely killed off, gone, so they're no longer a thing. And so she's like, okay, I'm in a very hostile world. What bargaining do I have? I guess I could lie to them and tell them that I could bring the dragons back. Not that I would, but like I could. Maybe. And she's trying to keep secrets as to where she came from in order to kind of keep herself safe. Like, she doesn't want to give them all the information that she knows up front. So we don't know anything about her. So we're not getting as much information necessarily about her and like where she's from, other than the fact that like she's not in a good spot. I'm intrigued to see where this goes. This book is literally in the description is pushed as if Harry Potter met Fourth Wing, met Zodiac Academy, and that description makes it seem more silly goofy to me in my head, and it's not silly goofy at the moment because she was found under a pile of bodies. So I am intrigued to see where this does in fact go, and I obviously take you along with me. However, we are going to have a little bit of a baby road trip ahead of us because we are going to one of my book club friends, Mo. She is technically an event planner, but she does all kind of like farmers markets and really cool different like things at vineyards and stuff. So this weekend is actually the Peach Festival, so we're going to a winery in which they have an orchard. They've been growing peaches, and I'm gonna go get some peaches. Blurb also has a booth, so we're gonna go say hi to Abe. I'm really hopeful that Abe has Kindle sleeves because I really want a Kindle sleeve. So let's go to the Peach Festival. Welcome back, friends. I am very hot and sweaty, but we do have a haul. Okay, obviously we had to get peaches at the Peach Festival. And then they also had cherries, which is so excited about. I love a good cherry. They had a peach bread, which is peaches, flour, sugar, eggs, milk, baking soda, salt, and cinnamon. It's just like a cinnamon sugar bread that I'm excited for. And then I tried their peach cider, and the peach cider was so good. They unfortunately didn't have any, the peach cider was so good. They unfortunately didn't have any bottles left, but they did have the apple cider left. So I did get some apple cider to try. And then arguably my most exciting feature, Abe made a couple Kindle cases, and I had my crochet one, but I just like, I don't know. I wanted one that Abe made. So I also thought that this pattern was really cute. So we have a little case. It's got a little button on it, and I'm so thrilled to have this in my home. So I did read a little bit more on Wings of Blood. I am honestly a little bit confused as to the setting of this book because we go from this like super almost like not medieval feeling. I mean, she's found under a collection of corpses and it feels very like bubonic plaguey. I don't know, maybe that's where that feeling is coming from, but it feels very like it feels like a very high fantasy setting. And then all of a sudden we have finally gotten into the academy portion. So she is betrothed. She's the second betrothed to the prince, and the king is like, yeah, girl, you're going to school. So she's like, love to hear it. So she's about to have her first day at the new academy, but she's gone to her room. She doesn't have to share a bathroom, which is really nice. And she has her own private room. So she's just like kind of living it up. However, I'm getting the vibe that like she's making this new friend, but I feel like she should trust new one. And I feel like that new friend is going to go back on her or something. I don't know, but I'm ready for it to happen. Can I just make cherries my dinner? Is that unacceptable? I think that should be unacceptable given that I didn't have lunch, but oof. Anywho, since I'm going to go attempt to pretend to cool off because it was so freaking hot outside today, and I was out there far later than I should have been, and I'm really hoping I didn't get sunburned. But if I did, you know, that's kind of, that's my bad. I have to leave here in like 20 or so minutes in order to go babysit, but I'm gonna find some dinner. I am going to go track down wherever the heck my Kindle went, and then tonight I shall either be finishing Goldsin and or making some more Wings of Blood progress, because low-key, I don't know, it's the weekend, we're feeling fun, we're feeling fresh, and who the heck knows what the plans are, because I make them and I just don't feel like making them. Hee hee ha ha. Thank you so much. Honestly, that should be the new outro. Hee hee ha ha. Thank you so much. You spelled Y-E-W specifically? Thank you. She said completely unironically. Hee hee ha ha. Thank you so much. Okay, so she is getting introduced to all of the homies and the what's the vampire word for family? The crew, the horde. I don't know, the homies in the club. But I don't trust a single one of them. They are all very silly, goofy, and I'm just waiting for the betrayal. Okay, I just feel it coming. There's some banter going along. But as far as the Harry Potter comparison, it's less Harry Potter and more Hogwarts, because they are all wearing these dark billowy, very sassy diva cloaks, and then they are having breakfast at this big old like spread thing, like Great Hall, Hogwarts. So the overall setting for this book, now that we're finally like starting to get into it, is making a little bit more sense to me, but at the same time I'm like, what is this? Like what is happening? However, I am really anxiously waiting for the main male character to show up, because I refuse to believe that the Prince Blake is going to be it, because she's very much so not attracted to him. She is like, no thanks. There's no way that he's going to grow on her. And I hope so. I hope he doesn't, because I'm not into him either. Like, I just don't. So, I am waiting. We're vibing along. So far, we're having a good time. I got myself completely LOLing in a little part because they were talking about something, and somebody was like, "Oh, well, aren't you just getting your dark billowy cloak in a little twist?" And I was like, "You're joking. You're literally kidding." So I love that. Aren't you just getting your dark billowy cloak in a little twist? And I was like, I love it here. I think I like it here. So I'm having a good time so far. I don't know what the time is. I have no idea what I'm even reading still, honestly, because I feel like we're still so early in. And instead of like fully developing the world and then getting into it, we're kind of being like slowly introduced to things. So I'm hee-heeing. I'm ha-haing. I'm having a good time. Thank you so much. Hee-hee. I'll stop saying that sometime, I promise. But that probably means that I won't in fact stop saying that anytime soon. So get used to it. My bad. Sorry in advance. No, I have actually put this book down for a little bit. I'm trying to film something, so I've been just trying to mood read in a very weird order. So I put On Wings of Blood down. I picked up a couple other things, and then I haven't finished any of those other things. So in case you were asking, yes, it is July 12th, and I still have, well, I guess now today I've officially finally finished a book. So I have very, in the most softest of terms, I wouldn't even say that I've softy enough on Wings of Blood, because I just haven't gotten back to it yet and I haven't picked it back up again. So I am going to make some progress on that book, and I will check back in with you when I do so. Okay, we managed to make it to page 268. I'm liking this book. I don't know that I'm down bad, and I think it's just because I'm waiting for the fun. Like, I want to get past, I feel like I'm waiting for the fun. Like, I feel like I'm still getting past all of the world building, and like everybody hates her and she's going to school, and school is hard, and we're not getting into the fun, magic-y, dragon-y, silly goosery that I'm really hopeful that we will get to sooner rather than later. So I'm currently at 50%. We made it exactly. That's really satisfying, to the 50% mark. I'm really not all that down bad for the main male character. Part of me wonders if this is going to be a 3-star read, and should I even spend the time continuing to read it? But I feel like because I am at 50%, I feel like it can't get worse. It could only get more fun, and if I'm waiting for the magic, I gotta get to the magic. So I am going to continue reading, though I'm unsure that this will be a fave. Okay, friends, I have some news, and the news is that I am in fact DNFing. I did switch over to reading the book physically, and I did read probably like a chapter or so, like enough to know that that was definitely going to work better for me, but not enough to really make a whole ton of progress. I'm still around the 50% mark. I think I'm just barely past the 50% mark. I don't really care, and I think I'm also just ready to move on. That being said, I'm not completely writing this book off. This is definitely a soft DNF as opposed to a hard DNF, because I just know, especially when I get to see people hyping up the trad release in the fall, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I really want to reread it again. I want to read it again. I want to read it. Like, I don't think that this story isn't gonna not work for me, but I do just think that, like, I'm not in the mood for it, really speaking. I'm not in the mood for like silly goofy We're At an Academy. I'm kind of in the mood for like Rain of Shadows and Endings, or like Throne of Broken Gods, or like something that's on my July TBR, or like something chunkier. I don't know, I'm just in a chunky book mood. So I am deciding to put this book down, at least for now. We'll see if I pick it back up again. But ultimately, life's too short to read books that we're not 100% sure that we're going to rate higher than a 3-star. Calling this video a TBR takedown video is a stretch. It's a big stretch. However, we're making that stretch because this has been a habit building week that I think is really going to set me up for success, not only in my TBR takedown journey, but then also as my book buying and my book consuming and my book loving life. I do definitely think, and it's a funny, silly, goofy little joke, that book buying is a separate hobby from book reading, and it is. And being able to take a little bit of a step back and focus on the fact of, hey, we like to buy books, but we also like to read books. We don't have to buy books in order to read them. And I think that not only forcing myself to actually practice that theory, but also practice that theory is really what I was going with there. It's good. So I do think that the habit building of this week is definitely something that I needed to do. So if there is a habit that you have been looking at, that you have been needing to build, you should do it. It kind of works. So this week we ended up putting big fat 0 books on my physical TBR. And while that is not negative, we're not taking books off the TBR, we're not adding, and I did get to still read books that I was very excited about. The books that were shiny and new, I still got to read them. So I'm calling this week, and really the last like 2.5 weeks that this vlog has gone on, which that's a whole other thing, a success. However, this is also the very last video in July. So I am so grateful and so thankful that you have chosen to come along and not only watch this video, but then also any other videos that you may have watched. I'll go ahead and link the July Miss playlist down in the description box down below in case you needed to go catch up on anything. However, thank you so much for watching. I kind of just decided to do this week on a whim, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to go, if I was actually going to successfully make it there. We made it. We've made it, friends. But I do think, speaking of habits, that this week was also a really good week for me in terms of like a booktuber. The concept of sitting down, filming a video, and then immediately getting it together, being able to edit and post it and have your idea very quickly has been very nice. I'm someone who, I feel like when I get really good ideas and things that I'm really excited about, I might take a minute to convince myself that it is a good idea, and then I'll finally do it, and then I'll edit it kind of slower, and then I'll finally post it. And by the time that I've done that, I'm not as excited about the idea anymore. So this week has definitely been such a fun week for me because I'm actually executing things, and I think that's also a really good habit for me to get into in terms of stopping the doom scrolling, sitting down, doing things that are productive and things that I do enjoy a lot more than doom scrolling. So that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far into this video, go ahead and leave a mountain emoji, because that feels right. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I will catch you in the next one.